Okay, so I love Christina just because of she's very passionate about what she's doing, right? 12 years doing this. So for new people who don't know, she's been doing it for 12 years. And it's public work. To me, it's like, consistent, once a month, that's tough, right? Let me introduce myself first for those who doesn't know me. My name is Linda, and my background is finance. So not real estate. Real estate probably the after product, after I did the finance. So I have 2 bachelors. One is English literature and the other one is business, and then get the master on finance. So all my life, what I know is finance and numbers. Finance is different than accounting. Accounting, I do not like accounting. Finance is all gray. Finance is the art of accounting. Finance is the way you see the numbers, right? How to create the story and stuff like that from the numbers, telling a story from the numbers, interpreting the numbers. So I guess I start capital raise probably 25 years ago, 30 years ago when I was 8. No. I joke around because somebody already gonna say something or say, well, you're 9? Oh, no, I'm gonna just lower down a little bit, 8. We actually very familiar with capital raise. It's a fancy word, but we did it. I remember I went to elementary school. I remember that my mom made me sell snacks, right, to our friends. He made it, and then you sell it at school, and after that, business getting bigger, and then you get into stickers, and you get into pencils, into that, and then you have more capital, and you recruited friends, and then you have money. Okay, let's just buy something. That's capital raising, right? We just using it right now is a fancy word, and capital raise has nothing to do with put it this way. Capital raise is not syndication. Capital raise is part of syndication. Right? Okay, so the biggest question, I guess, do we need people's skill to raise capital? Because as you know, system is important. What do I need to click?
It's okay. Yep, I'm going to hand that to you.
Okay.
And we're going to do this. Keep talking. You're doing great.
All right. So I'm a single mom. Raised right now is my kids is already adult. It's 24 and 22. My life has not been easy, so name it, anything that I've been through, abuse in a relationship. I've been through, I've been homeless. Came over here as an immigrant probably 30 years ago and not knowing anybody. So I stayed at the airport for 2 nights just because I want to go to school, right? My dad passed away since I was young. And my dad's part of the family are very wealthy, but when grandparents pass away, the second generation don't know anything about, money. So they really ran out to the drain. We have hotel, we have entertainment and things like that. So my grandparents is in development business, so we developed resort and things like that already way back. So I grew up in construction. So long story short, I always loved learning. And even though my dad passed, I always want to continue my education. I'm the oldest out of 5 at that time. My mom remarried, have another 2, which is now we're all 7, right? I'm the oldest. So the burden of being the head of household fall into me just by default. And at that time, I was really young. And because my dad family took over my dad asset at that time, I was a spoiled brat when I grew up, when my dad's still alive, into nothing, not even having any money to buy food. And so for me to go proceed our education, especially out of the country, is far-fetched. It's not something especially after my dad passed away. But the drive in me was really strong. So I came here with no knowing anyone. I didn't tell my mom either that I'm come over here and not knowing anybody, right? Because if I say so, my mom said that, no, you're not going. So I flew in didn't have any idea how to get with tourist visa. Just figure that. It's just crazy. But it probably is just like me. If I want to do something, I do head first, and I just do it 100% without any hesitation. When I was young, it's even more dangerous. And so right now, I'm still doing the same thing. Went to school, graduated in 1.5 years, and then get into Wall Street first. So I was in finance. I had trade stock with Charles Schwab and things like that. Then all the way, I did financial advisor for a bank, investment banker. And then my last position in the bank is commercial underwriter. So I underwrite with Citigroup. So I've been on the other side of the investor, right? I underwrite building relationship and, for commercial lending and a large group of clients. One of them is actually my business partner, and up to this day, and then he's sitting way at the back. I knew him, Pablo. I knew him since I was in banking. So we've been friends. So 2008, 2009 hit. Lesson learned. At that time, I was a single mom. And then I thought having salary is everything. You don't have to think about anything. Every month you get a check. You don't have to worry about anything until 2009, 2008, when mortgage crash. If you guys remember 2009, beginning of 2009, the whole mortgage department in Citibank get wiped out nationwide, right? A lot of my good friends was in mortgage, and they don't have any job. I was not there. But it's really opened my eyes to the point that, okay, what happened to my kids then? They're not even going to college yet. So I decided to take the opportunity to go overseas. I'm pretty dramatic. I was thinking, I don't even think about it. An offer came to my table to become a CFO in one of still a good friend in Indonesia. They built hotel, resort, and things like that. They need a CFO, and I say yes. Guess this, I go back and forth, 2 weeks over there, 3 weeks over there, 2 weeks over there. It's just travel all the time because my kids are still here. Long story short, when we did the resort, I start capital raise without knowing. I know that elementary school I did that, but then I jump into it very smoothly, not knowing that I do capital raise in a big way. So when we do the resort and hotel, but at that time, because I was in Indonesia, building a resort in Bali, when I do capital raise, I don't capital raise only in the same country. I capital raise outside the country. You have to understand that working in the bank or American corporation, when you do analyze underwriting and things like that, it's pretty black and white. If the client doesn't meet a certain box, they don't approve it, correct? It's just like, basically, that's how we were trained here. But you go internationally, it has nothing, there's no rule. There's no rule. Let's say I have investor in Hong Kong or in Singapore, and the property is in Indonesia. We have to decide what law that we're gonna follow. And is everyone agree? The attorney agree, the attorney write up, and then boom, you get an investment. So there's no rules. Once I get into that, open up my mind, when things happen and I have to come back, never been the same anymore. Your mind is already stretched and you think that everything is possible. Then I learned about we are in a capitalist country, which is here in the United States. It's comparison to any other country in the world is one of the most flexible one. In Asia, if you want to raise capital and you give a certain rate, I'm going to give let's say 10%, while the bank give 5%, is against the law. Just to let you know, here, you can do whatever you want. I can give you twice multiplier. I can give you anything. As long as the other person or the investor agree, then you got the deal. It's not that case if it's not capitalist country. So I'm going to continue with capital raising. Capital raising is an addition or alternative to bank loans. So usually, traditionally, we go to the bank first. If the bank can't do, or they cannot do 100%, we raise capital on the rest, correct? Or if the bank don't like the company or the business, you go 100% capital raising with investors. So that's what capital raising is all about. Okay, why people do capital raise? Because company raise capital and then they want to grow. It's for growth, period. Okay, this is different kind of capital raise, right? Private equity, private debt, angel investor, venture capital. They're all almost the same. It just slightly has different kind of, I would say that, for example, private equity, they offer equity to the investor. Private debt, they asking for loan without equity usually. It's just collateralized, but you don't have any asset. Angel investor, a bunch of like high value investors. You know, they usually also for startup business, but they usually don't own the asset. All right, they have temporary own some equity, but they don't own the asset. They cannot claim the asset. Venture cap, this is a much bigger, arena. So in venture cap is almost the same for startup business or growing business. However, in venture cap, you can mix and match like institutional or private. They put it together, and we call different thing, which is venture capitalists. All right, in capital raise, this is the process. Usually your process is underwriting. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're gonna raise. You do the underwriting first. You do the due diligence, and then you underwrite everything, right? It doesn't matter what business. And then from there is book building. So you're building the book. You have the deck. What we call it sometimes nowadays is investor deck. And then from there, you do the roadshow. You go around and then, or you're doing with webinar, but you basically soliciting or presenting to the investor about your project. All right, now, this is what I learned after 25 years, 30 years. Trust is the only currency in raising capital, nothing else. Your credibility, your track record, that support the trust. But if people don't trust you, it doesn't matter what the deck is, what the numbers that you already built. Oh, you can say that, oh, you know what? This is the rent-com, this is the best deal, this is this and that. But if they don't trust you, they're not gonna invest, period. Two people can approach the same investor with the same project, the same deck, but that investor only go to one person that they trust. In banking, we learn so much, like when the banker, especially the banker has been there for a long time, it doesn't matter where the banker will go, switch to another bank. One thing they have to sign is to sign not soliciting the client or the customer. Why? Because it's very easy when the trust is already built, that customer will follow you wherever bank you go. So you don't bang with the bank, you bang with the banker, if that makes sense. It does apply to anything, right? So now, why Christina wants me to speak, I guess like Christina told me that I have different style of raising capital. And because of my background, and all my network come organically. I work hard for it. You can build your reputation for 10, 20, 30 years. It's only one bad deal. And your business, done completely, right? So to build that, you have to be very careful. You have to make sure that you make sure that you know the person that you're gonna raise the capital for. You understand about the project and all that. Is our responsibility. And this is another additional thing. If you raise capital, if something happened to the project, you have to be responsible to put your money. If you ask yourself and you say you can and I don't want to, then don't. Because the investor will know, right? And then you will never be able to raise capital and building that trust if you don't have that. And this is part of the connection that I'm talking about. Continue on. So engage with and understand people. You'll be able to connect. And connection has to come naturally. Have you ever heard about a phrase like, when you try to sell somebody and then you can smell that a mile away or something like that. Something like that. I mean, that phrase is basically like people do not like to be sold to. I don't, and I always tell people that put yourself in the other shoes. I think business school doesn't teach me this, never taught me this. The one that I think taught me the most is when I was in English literature. When I was in English literature, I dissect poetry, books, short stories, and the way we dissect it and analyze it, we have to learn about the writer, right? What is the writer, religion, political views, and everything. Then we be able to translate why they write certain things, why they use certain words. Why they write, it's always about sad story. Why Shakespeare is always telling about love and the chosen of words is a certain words. It's because of their background, right? Because I always learn to put myself on the writer's shoes or why they write certain things, it helped me a lot in the business. So it's not the business school that gave me this. Is the negotiation and all that is because I try to it's just in me. You all have to understand where you're coming from. So before you go into negotiation or before you're presenting your deck, you have to know their background. Yeah, you have to talk their language. You have to do your homework. What does the family look like? What is their upbringing? The upbringing, that's the most important part for them to make a decision, right? So you have to do the homework doing that, understanding who you will talk to, and present it using their language. Because if you think in your head that, this is the best investment ever, and it's going to give like 18% return or 20% return, probably it's not important to that person. You gotta have to come in at from different angle. So connection is a big deal. Communicate. So I think is one of my strengths. I can break it down, the most complicated numbers or complicated, using a fancy word, putting a very simple one. Because the simplest, the better. It doesn't matter what kind of education. So, for example, right, you want to go into like engineer, attorneys, doctor. Engineers and attorney, doctor, they're always very, very analytical. And they're very complicated. Some people who has engineer background try to present to engineer, they kind of like, they like it like this. I have my own partner doing that, right? What's the result? It takes you months to close the deal, which is unnecessary because they going at it, they analyze everything, they analyze every numbers and things like that. Where are they going? I mean, you have to make it simple. The simplest, the language, the simple, the form, the simple, the number, the better. Add value. I think Christina just mentioned it today on the phone or yesterday. It's like, okay, Christina, do you want me to do presentation or are you just going to do quick Q&A? Presentation is like, Linda, you're good at adding value. But probably I have to put it in there because add value when you capital raise is everything. But here's the deal though. To me, you don't capital raise when you have a project. You build the relationship prior to that, way, way, way prior to that. By adding value. Adding value, for me, I'll be friends with you. I don't have to do business with you, but everyone that I started with friendship, right? And you add value even when I was in the bank before, I remember when people like talking to you about, oh, you know what, I have this living trust, I have this, and it has nothing to do with me. But then I pick up the phone, I remember, oh, I can introduce this person to Angie, for example, or to Edward. I always want to connect people. It's nothing, I get nothing from it. But that's how you add value, right? You add value all the time. Do it just because you want to help. You don't do it because you have something in it or another agenda, because they will know that too. Try to do that in networking too. The same thing, networking. Listen to what they do. I know that Melissa doing the, like, what are you doing? Solar, solar Tesla, right? So we did networking. So I remember then when you see somebody else is like talking about solar, then hey, you know what? Let me introduce you. Whether or not they end up doing business together, but I know there's connection has to be made. That's the seed of capital raising. If I be able to, you have to start it way before the project. It's not when the project and you call on people, no one can be able to raise in a short period of time. You have to educate and you have to add value. Expanding personal network. That one, when Christina divided into groups, I remember when I'm volunteering too, that was the best part out of this meeting. Because when you do that and you know other people and you try to get people understand you too, this is where the connection is, that's when the magic happened. The relationship blooming and things like that. Majority of my partners is actually from networking. I didn't know them before. But we build trust and we build connection, and then when we see the project, I know, oh, I'm not good at this, and let me go to this person. And you have to know your superpower. Okay? You have to do a lot of digging and know your superpower. And when you know your superpower, put it out there. Ross and I talk, right? I mean, you really good. He's a developer and I'm a developer too. We built a different style. I built multifamily, and then he built like residential and, multifamily too in a smaller scale. But there's a bunch of them. And he's really, really good at what he does. He's really good also in underwriting. So what he doesn't know, not good, you have to find somebody or a partner that complement that skill. But you have to know. And when you network, that's when the first thing, like Christina said, that's the first thing that you have to tell them, okay, my name is Annette, I'm good at this. So that people remember, especially it's like speed dating like earlier, 7 minutes, You have to be able to come across the message that this is what I'm good at. I'm good in capital, I'm good in underwriting, I'm good in asset management, I'm good in finding deals, I'm good in anything, or even you have money, I have money. I want to invest. You can say something like that too. And always two-way street. You cannot just, any relationship, like you cannot just take, you have to give. And it's always, you have to always put it in your head that they have to make money. You cannot be selfish. This is like probably the most unselfish, thing that we're in the business, because if you're selfish in this business, you've never been successful. I think people who've been in the business for a while probably know this too. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be open. And I know for some people, it's very hard to let your guard down. Why I have to share my problem to other people? Oh, I'm going to share this and I'm not going to share that. No, you gotta have to share everything. Not all at once, but you have to be open to share everything. That's the only way. There's no magic solution here. There's no other way around it. If you want to build connection and trust, you have to be open. It goes both ways. And it takes time, everyone. It takes time. That's why capital raise is an ongoing process. You don't capital raise when the project is done, or the project is about to build, or project about to purchase. You have to do capital raise way before that. Having a CRM is good. You keep educating your friends, your network. That's what you're doing, telling a story, education. The same thing what Christina is doing over here is the same thing. I mean, this is part of the capital raising too, right? You educate people all the time because it takes time. All right, good relationship is gold. Nurture it. When you have somebody good, when you have a good relationship, you have to nurture it. You don't go to that person only when you have project or deal. It doesn't work like that. You have to build that relationship, make time to have coffee or have lunch or just talk on the phone. It doesn't work. It doesn't work when you just popping up, hey, by the way, I have this, A year later, say, hey, by the way, I have this. It doesn't work like that. That's why it's a lot of work. All right, to me, business is personal. So some people saying that it's just business. It's not personal. Oh, that was wrong. Rick Lance said that those who say it's not personal, it's just business, are lying. All business is personal, and the best business is very personal. So if you think that it is separate, business and personal, then you are in the wrong business, because this is a business of building relationship. You have to know that person as well as that person needs to know you. And the only way to do it is to connect. And the only way to connect is to be vulnerable, if that makes sense. All right, this is my end of my presentation.
Okay, in partners and customers, what are green lights and red flags? Go ahead.
I usually take my time. If I cannot have dinner with that person, or I cannot, when you meeting several times, you kind of know when you got their phone call, and they said that, hey, let's have lunch, let's have dinner. You know in your gut whether you want to go or not, right? Our time, especially as if we get older, our time is very precious. So I'm dragging my feet, then it's not a good one. Just listen to your gut. Because what I'm telling you is sometimes work for me, but it doesn't work for you. However, the principle has to be the same. Work ethic has to be the same. Integrity has to be the same. If I always, ask how you want to be able, if something went south, when you have a problem, because every project will have a problem. How are you going to solve it? You can talk about it. How are you going to solve it? Is that by throwing a towel and then yelling to each other, or I like to sit down. It's like, just get to know how they deal with problem. Because I always say, good business or good project can be bad. Bad project can be good. It depends on the jockey. It depends on who ran it, right? So when your partnership is not good to begin with, and you have to be able to meet with that person like that in second, and you looking forward to meet that person. Oh, you know what? Oh, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to have coffee. This is going to be interesting conversation. That's what I'm looking for, usually. The red flag, if I don't want to meet that person. After a couple times, it's like when the first conversation, first meeting, you are kind of know. Oh, it's like, this is like, you and I click pretty well. And then after that, it's like, Christina, do you want a roommate? It's like, oh yeah, we had a roommate. Yeah, we roommate a couple conference, because her integrity that I respect the most about Christina, and that's why we'll hit it off pretty.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat it for the video. So raising money overseas, is money laundering a deep concern when you're doing that?
Yes.
Even in the United States.
Yes.
Not only international, right? It's always a concern, but that's more the bank concern when they wire the money. So for us, because we have a portal, when we raise a fund, we have a portal or we have a bank account. And the only way they'll be able to bring the money in is by wire. So it's the bank responsibility to check, to trace it. So you don't have to worry about it as long as you have the system. I have people too. Pablo can attest to this. If I ask money, that person can bring in $1 million cash, dragging, rolling $1 million cash. You can't accept that. I mean, there's a lot of business. Not the business is not legit. It's just the customer, they come to their business, is always bringing cash. But then unfortunately in our business, especially in part of syndication, when you SEC regulation and things like that, you can't accept something like that unless you want to buy a business. It's a JV, for example. You're raising capital out of your friends and family, and then you can say, hey, do you have let me see. You pull out your bet, and then like 20,000 over there. Is here, 20,000 is okay? 20,000 is okay, like cash. Then it's up to you, right? But then, but you know that person when you do the JV, right? But then it come into syndication, no, SEC regulation, has to be wired, has to be from a bank, and the bank already traced that. So, portal already traced that, so you don't have to worry about it.
So let me repeat it for the video. So what kind of entities, Linda, are you using specifically for your business model?
Yeah. LLC, because it's a partnership, and it's easier, it's cleaner. It is more expensive as far as tax, but that's the most common use, and it's the most, clean, when you want to deal with a few partners, right? What I learned, I'm not a CPA, just full disclosure. You probably want to see like the active income and then passive income. Your CPA will know the passive income, they prefer the LLC, and then the active income, you prefer S Corp. It depends on your CPA, right? It depends on your situation, because everybody is different. But mostly when we hold asset and doing when we do syndication, the attorney syndication always form an LLC. That's pretty common.
Do you have a separate entity that specifically is your entity that then joins the LLC? Do you have your own corporation or anything?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What is that?
So usually when we do syndication, the syndication attorney form an LLC. And if I partner with 4 people, that 4 people usually using their LLC to be a member of that LLC, if that makes sense. So LLC have a member of LLC as the member.
And you use an LLC as your,
Yes.
when you're coming in with an LLC.
I come in with an LLC because it's easier that way, right? If I come in as for example, Airbnb or something like that, I use my S Corp because I have active income that I can write off as business owners. We have a lot of expenses that be able to write off and instead of like the LLC. Another thing too that I think this is a little bit further. If you have, let's say, new development and stuff like that, and then the syndication is using one LLC, if you want to have a clean book, what I did is I create 2 separate LLC. One is for capital raise, and then the other LLC is to hold the asset so that when you raise capital in one, and then you transfer it to another LLC, it's clean, and then this one pay bills and all that, but this is only for capital raise. So when capital raise is done, you can close this LLC and then fully using the other LLC. That's another, but your CPA will know, and find CPA who know real estate.
Yes, well,
That's a big deal.
syndication.
Yeah, and syndication.
Okay, is there more questions in the room? Wow, okay. Jerry?
Yeah, you don't want to have commingling.
You want to have commingling of funds? Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely not. Jerry can tell you in detail, you don't want to have that. Perfect. Okay, yeah, and I'm going to go here, and then John, you can be next. Okay, I'm going to repeat it for the video. So the question is, business and friendship doesn't mix. Some people are staunch about that, and yet you're really supporting being friends with people that you're going to be raising capital with.
Yeah. So yes, those people usually take time, right? So, but I'm a firm believer. One of my partners here, and then he'd be able to attest that I'm friends with all my investors to the teeth, like really close. And the reason why is also we're in it for a few years. Our relationship is, for syndication is 4 or 5 years, right? 3 to 5 years. You want to be able to share a lot of things, being open and communicate, and you have to nurture that relationship. Not like when after you take the money and then that's it, you have to give monthly report, and you have to be available when they have doubt after reading the monthly report or news somewhere. They're gonna pick up the phone and it's like asking you question is what happened about this, I read economic news about this area, that's overpopulated and things like that. What do you think about that? I have a lot of phone calls like that, and you have to be available. Okay, how are you gonna do something like that? The trust. Okay, so it's like marriage, right? If you having like an investor, is like that. So how you be able to the trust can be there all the time if you don't nurture that relationship. For somebody like that, I have that too. Like, I have people who like talk to my investor. We've been friends for a long time, and then she say, "Did you invest with Linda?" No, seriously, this is like, "Did you invest with Linda?" And then it's like, "No, I don't mix friends and business." And then the investor who's like my friends for 20 years and invest in every business that I do, he's like, "I think I'm friends with her longer than you. May I know like why?" This person now start to change a little bit, and it start asking me, "Hey, if you have any other project later on, because we don't have it all the time, can you let me know?" So, but that start with that. But I do not believe that it will not change. I believe people change, right? It depends on how they just want to watch, they want to see if we really say what we say we are, or we do what we say we going to do, right? So with that, they will be able to trust you. The trust is already there. It's just to trust you to, what they don't want is conflict. All right. So the same thing, like with my, let's say, sisters or family. I'm Asian, so in Asian family, usually do not ever do business with friends and family. Okay, don't. And I grew up with that. I don't want to do business because my mom kept telling me that. Until now, my mom's still telling me that. But then at the same time, my mom said, "Can you help your sister? Help your sister." And I said, "Okay, Mom, what do you want me to do? Help them or not help them?" But it's just, damn if you do, damn you don't. But we grow up like that, right? But just understand it, that when we grow up like that, they also think like, okay, I don't want to fight. The relationship is already good. So what happened is something wrong happened, then what are we going to do? Then that's the only angle, even though they give you so many different reasons, that's the angle. Then you have to be open about it. Yeah. And then share to them that, this is what, when we have conflict, I know that what do you not want it having, because what I'm offering to you is an opportunity, right? Why you don't want it, if not good, I'm not going to offer it to you, but why you don't want to do it? They will open up. Is that because of this? Is not because of that? Then you tell them that, our friendship will not going to change. Even though the business going south, I'm going to try to fix it, but our relationship will not going to change. You have to be able to give them, a peace of mind on that part.
I'd like to add a story. So at ITI, we're having a gentleman named Chad Zdednik. I say his last name wrong. We're having him come present, and he's talking on a similar topic. This is the ITI meeting. And he told this story about how if you don't stay in communication, as a capital raiser, if you don't stay in communication with your investors, and then all of a sudden something is going wrong with the project, and now they're hearing from you, the immediate reaction is distrust. Because there's not been communication all the way along.
Good or bad, you have to communicate.
Good or bad, you have to communicate. So it's almost like if you can, and just to support Linda's point, or to say it another way, if you develop an authentic, transparent relationship with somebody, and you're like, you're going to invest in this deal, I believe this deal is good, I'm suggesting it to you because I honestly know who you are and what works for you inside of your portfolio, because I've talked to you. I know your family. I know what you're looking for. I know the cash flow that's important to you. I'm going to suggest this deal for you. And if the deal goes wrong, I'm going to stay in communication with you about that. And we're going to have to talk through that. Because to pretend you aren't going to have to talk through it is inaccurate. You have to be able to talk through it. If you're a capital raiser with your investors, you have to understand what it is they need and how it adds to their portfolio. If you choose to not do that, then you're missing one of the elements of trust and vulnerability in that relationship, in that conversation. You might put them in a deal that doesn't serve them, yeah, and then you're responsible for putting them in a deal that doesn't serve them. So it's a kind of a different viewpoint of almost being so vulnerable, so adding value, that you're willing to go, we got to have a tough conversation, let's have that. Suggestion. Okay, let me repeat it for the video. So what's the best order to get things done? Do you start raising capital and developing your network before you have the deal? Do you wait till you have the deal and then you develop the network? And when do you open the escrow account?
Yeah. Remember my point over there? It takes time, right? So you cannot raise capital when you have a deal. You have to raise capital before, way, way, way before you have a deal. Okay, building a relationship first. I think Ross witnessed, my friend Ross witnessed me, raising capital right in front of him. And because he invited me to his project, and at that time, I'm still raising capital right now for one of the projects. And then he saw me. What we do is like we don't have a webinar. What we have is just deck, because it's only for circle, 506B. It's only for people that I know, friends and family, starting with that. And then when I pick up the phone and I just like, okay, how much you be able to bring in? Like okay, how much? We just talk about numbers. Like, okay, it's 100,000. No, 100,000 is minimum. You know what I'm saying? And then when I hang out, it's like, what are you doing? I'm raising capital. But because your relationship is so close already, you skip all that. You skip even the deck sometimes. They just know, you just give a bullet points. Okay, this is the return, this is this. And I know what risk that they'll be able to tolerate or not. So I'm not gonna bring in that particular project if I don't know, their risk level, right? But then the capital raise should be short, because we don't have that much time. You have to understand, capital raising, like the limit, let's say you need 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, after the bank tell you how much money they're gonna give it to you. And that what? 2 months before escrow, or a month before escrow? Or for me, it's like 2 months before I turn dirt in your development. How do you raise a capital starting building a relationship in 1 month to get like $5-6 million or maybe $10 million? You can't. So you have to build your relationship way, way before.
So anybody familiar with Fortune Builders? Yes? It's a pretty big name in our field, Fortune Builders. Most of their projects, they raise capital within 24 to 48 hours. The whole thing's funded. And their deals are anywhere from $5 to $10 million that they're trying to fund. So there's an established relationship that they have with the individuals that they're raising money from. Now, I'm not supporting them or dissing them. I'm just telling you a process I've noticed with my investors, that if they choose to invest in Fortune Builders, that we have a whole conversation around, if you want to invest in this deal, which I've now done the due diligence on, here's how you need to do that. Because this deal, it's going to be gone in 24 to 48 hours, right? Because of the level of trust in the brand that Fortune Builders has. Now, again, I'm not talking about the brand. Fair? Okay. Well, I saw some hands back here. So let me repeat. So how does the relationship building look like before you even have a deal? How do you process that? And are you, by the way, pre-qualifying them quietly or inadvertently or directly?
A really good question, by the way. No, I don't pre-qualify them. I actually intentionally, want to expand my network, which is making friends, right? You also have to screen your investor. You don't want to work with somebody that you...
Preach it, Linda.
You don't want to work with somebody just because they have money, but they give you a lot of problem. If you choose an investor, the same thing when you choose partners. When you pick up the phone and you have cringe, like, oh my God, I don't want to really pick up the phone. You see the numbers, like, oh, I don't want to pick up the phone. Don't take the money out of that person, because that person usually going to give you problem. Yep. Yes or no? Yes or yes, yes. Right? Yes. So you pre-qualify them whether you be able to build a relationship or not with that person. Not because you want to sell them something. That's how I'm doing it. So everyone to me is a friend. A friend that I'm going to connect you with somebody else. I'm going to connect you with the other person, and then I have nothing to do with it. I'm okay for not getting any gain out of that. But also at the same time, I want to know whether I'll be able to build a relationship with that person or not, right? I will never go to that person if that person, I know it's going to be 4 or 5 years relationship. Just remember that. If you do not like the person without even you preaching, you're going to give a good opportunity. Can you imagine if you're delivering bad news? Because you will deliver bad news once in a while, right? I mean, occupancy is 80% or 70%. You know, we try to put ads and things like that. Still doesn't have any tenant. Then what are we gonna do? That's bad news, and we have to deliver them. We have monthly report every month, and we have to put everything out there, good or bad. Not just only the good news, but the bad news will make them react to call you. And then with that, you have to be able to answer. If you don't like that person, cross them out. Give it to somebody else.
So again, to say, talked about Chad said that when he had to do a capital call on a raise he was doing, he said he was able to get 80% of his people to be able to reinvest. But he had other partners that didn't get their people to reinvest. So he chalked it up to 100%. His willingness to remain in relationship, nurture the trust and the clarity with the investors so that he could manage a tough situation and be able to get 80% of his people to invest in a project that effectively was now in trouble. So let me ask this question, sort of Sharice's follow-up. When you accept raising capital for a project, what do you look for? What looks like a red flag for you in even being able to accept a project to raise money for?
I always look at the people. I do business with people, not with the project. Like I said, good project can be bad project can be good. So I believe people has to be the operator, is a problem solver, right? They have to be able to think outside the box. That's crucial, because when things happen, you cannot just froze and stuck. You have to be able to think about, what else that I can do? For example, this is like a really good example, because right now there's a lot of capital call going on in knock on wood. I mean, I don't have any project that's like that, but there's a lot of capital call, right, on multifamily and stuff. And then when I know one person that I think he's really smart. He has a property management, asset management business on the other side, and then a couple of their property need capital call. So before they do the capital call and call the investor, he actually decide that he's gonna lend the money from the asset management company with zero interest to that project, so that project can survive, so they don't have to do capital call. There has to be sacrificing like that, but then it takes somebody special or out of the box thinker to think about other solution, and that's crucial to me. So you want to know that person, if that person is creative, right? Resilient, because things happen. You don't look at the project. That's why sometimes when people like just going drill into the project, don't get me wrong, due diligence is important, really important. But also due diligence on the person, the operator is important, right? I'm not saying that credibility sometimes is hard too. To me, some people that new, they can also do a good job. They don't have to be like having 1,000 doors and things like that. It's just a person. You have to be able to sit down, and then you'll be able to assess yourself, get your gut feeling. Because that person can be a shining star too. I mean, people doesn't have experience doesn't mean that the project is not going to be successful, right? I mean, how bad they want it, and the ownership, and they have to have skin in the game, because if they lose their money, they lose everybody's money too, and that's important.
How many people do you know, and how do you keep control? How do you keep it? And I am just going to summarize. How many people do you know, and how do you manage staying in connection with them, and what's like your contact management system look like? And this is part of why Linda's up here, is because she has a natural, almost unending appetite for being able to be with people. I don't know what that's about, but I've just noticed it in her. Okay, Linda, answer the question.
I think that's part of it.
Well, in my CRM, my phone book, probably 3,000 that I have in my phone, right? CRM, probably about 5,000. And when the first time that I did CRM, probably in August 2022, I don't have any system before you guys. Couldn't imagine. I raised capital without a system. And that was as chaos as you may seem, but it worked. I mean, not anymore. If you want to scale, then you have to have a system. I mean, there's no other way. So after I have the CRM, I have active campaign. I have one-on-one newsletter. And that newsletter is a little bit different. I know that some of you probably receiving my newsletter, and my newsletter is a little bit different. My newsletter, I put my heart and soul in my newsletter, which is I tell a story about me, what I do, my family, my special friends, and things like that. Not about the project, not about anything else. I think that's probably the difference. I strongly believe that connection beats everything. You know, I can look at people in the eyes and I can tell you that, you know, I have something good for you. And I mean it wholeheartedly that I have something good for you, you know. And I think with you, it's the same thing, right? I mean, the way we built the relationship, I don't call Christina every day. She doesn't respond texts sometimes, you know. I have her text, and I text, and I was like, she doesn't respond. So
It's true, I know.
yeah, so email, oh, forget that, you know, forget email. So, but how are we going to build a relationship, right? I mean,
Sorry, she knows me personally. That's why she
right,
knows me so.
right,
Yeah,
right.
How many people know don't email Christina without texting her? Raise your hands. Come on, guys.
Not going to open, right? But there's a lot of people like Christina, right? A lot of people, how many hours in a day that you'll be able to, you know, spare for building relationship with people? But I think people don't forget about connection, though. When you have a moment with them and then you really connect, people don't forget that. I mean, Christina and I, we didn't see each other for a long time, but when we see each other, like today, for example, I can hug Christina for a minute, you know, like, and then we connected again. I don't know, and I make the time. You know, Kathy's one of my longtime friend too, and we didn't see each other that often, but then every time that we both make the time, like any other people do, well, Jennifer too. And Jennifer lives in Reno, for example, right? We have several, she's from Reno, by the way. You're talking about you giving gift card to the wrong person. She's from Reno. Well, but anyway, Jennifer and I, we didn't see each other for a long time. But then when she said, Linda, I'm going to come to LA, we're going to go to Aspire, it's like, you know, can we have lunch or dinner? I respect that. I respect our relationship. Or what I do is that, yes. Do I struggle today to manage the time and things like that? Yes, absolutely. But do I make the time to spend time with her for 2-3 hours? Yes. The same thing with Kathy. Anytime that Kathy says, hey, we need to have like, I craft the time. There's no other, but you have to like it. You have to like that person. Again, you have to like that person, right? That's your first gut instinct. You have to like that person to spend time with them. That's how you build the relationship.
So we'll answer this question, then we'll only have time for one more question after this. So how do you know and track what people's needs are and maybe the amount of capital they have to invest? How do you manage that?
Yeah. You know. I just know. And you have...
She can remember 5,000 people.
No, but I work in banking before, you know. So for me to ask that very sensitive question is very natural to me, right? And then with networking, you know, this is like happened. Where is the Sabtu person? Is still here? Like, oh, Tia is not here anymore, but yes, he's right there. Hey, Tia, you know when we do Sabtu networking, right? It's very intense to the point that it's like speed dating. You have few seconds. You have few seconds only. You face to face with that person. You know what I did? I say, do you have any money? He's like, oh yeah, how much? You know? And then my friend is looking at me, he's like, damn, you asked that question. No one gonna ask that question. I work in a bank. I can ask your social security in 5 minutes. So you have to be comfortable too. And that's shown, if you have a good intention, you know what to ask the question because you just want to help. You don't go around the city telling people that, but you have it in your head that, okay, but that thing changed. Business, their economic change, their financial change. I do not raise money, especially in the beginning, using a blast email, by the way. I just don't. I usually go to my circle first. Right, people that investing with me like all the time, friends and family. I call that person, but hey, by the way, this is coming up. You know, I'm gonna give you the opportunity first. And people like to feel special, right? And then after that, then you can blast it. And usually the most effective one is one-on-one. It's always nothing beat connecting with people.
Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to tell a little short story, and then I'm going to take one more question from the audience because we need to wrap it up for the night. So, I was with Linda at a conference. I had hung out with Linda. I had never done a conference with Linda before. And she was literally like, Christina, come here. Da, 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 da. Here, you need.
She's so excited.
So excited. There we go. I never broke the ground. No, it's not working. But I'm just trying to get to the ear. Literally, she grabbed me. She's like, hey, you need to be Jenny. Jenny, this is Christina. You guys need to do that. And here's what you need to do for Christina. And Jenny, this is what you need to do for Christina.
Yeah, I did.
This is what you give her, and this is what she can give you.
I sell her.
Right?
To people.
And then she's like, okay, talk to her about 5 minutes. And then she shows up again and goes, Christina, come on in here. You need to be Kristen. And in the introduction, she's telling us what we need to talk about. And she will do that, I don't know, for me, was it 4 or 5 times at one conference in like 2 hours? And I was like, I knew a lot of people really quickly, and I knew why I was talking to them. And I just mentioned it because it's like, she's willing to ask the money, but she's also willing to connect you. Right? So this is a value add that she brings. And the first time I had Linda present at my meeting.
Yeah, Phoebe.
Phoebe. I'm sorry, I presented
Multifamily, yeah.
but I remember it was ITI multifamily. I just knew it was, I think it was ITI because you were.
Yes, ITI, yeah.
ITI multifamily. Okay, so it was multifamily at the before it was ITI, yes. And this was the first time I had Linda up on the stage. I'm doing my little spiel at the beginning, my little, welcome speech, and I said, okay, so how many people are here because they really love the topic? How many people are here because they really love real estate? How many people are here for Linda? And like this whole half of the room, I swear, rose their hand. I'm like, oh, that's why we have so many people here. It's because of Linda. And so literally, this is what she does and how she creates it. This is what I see from an outside observer about what she does when she talks about friendship and knowing what people need and adding value to their lives. Because she knows why I need to talk to that person for my good, and she knows why that person should talk to me for their good. Make sense? Okay, what's the last question, guys? We need to close it out. No last questions? All right, Tony.
Okay, so you said that your grandfather was wealthy, and then by the second generation he was kind of all gone. What kind of things have you established with your family to kind of make sure that doesn't happen again?
All right, so your grandfather was wealthy, then it was all gone. First generation makes it, second generation saves it, third generation spends it. Right? So it was all gone. Now what have you done to protect your family and to support your family?
Building a mindset, building the right mindset, And I think they have to be able to earn their own fortune, right? Because I think a lot of people, including my grandparents, right? They made it well from the immigrant moving to Indonesia from China, and couldn't speak any Indonesian at that time, and built an empire. But then the first generation watched that, and then thinking that they're gonna inherit everything, right? They don't know how even to grow the business, or let alone they just spend money. And I think it's applied to. I have a lot of rich friends over here who also have the same issue, because the kids feel they entitled to the asset. And you have to build that mindset that, you know what, if I die, if I want to donate all of them to any organization, then it's my money. You make your own, And then living trust, of course, you got to have to make sure that you know how to protect your asset by building the living trust and doing it the right way. And Christina is good in giving advice on that. You have to protect it, right? Regardless or not, you're going to give it to your kids. The kids has to try themselves. To me, I do not believe in generational wealth as far as asset passed down in my head, because I've been to the whole roller coaster myself. I don't just hear the story, but I experience myself. So to me, generational wealth is, I usually introduce my kids to my network that I built organically. I bringing my son to meet up, for example, or to introduce my friend to my son, which is my investors and things like that, to my son or my daughter, so that they know. And then I told them, now I introduce you. I'm the bridge for the trust, and it's all up to you now. You need to build that. So he needs to be able to, I think that the younger generation right now is lacking is to have conversation, social skill, right? Especially carry on conversation to somebody older than you, right? So I try to train that. It's not easy, but That's what I'm trying to do. That, to me, is the gift that keep giving. Is putting them in the right environment.
All right, guys, let's give her a hand.